Welcome back, Big Ben and K Winn. Big Ben is still in Palm Springs. He still hasn't called in. I think he's okay. He might be a little sunburned. But I'm here along with 12 Kyle, and Manny Brown will be joining as well. What's good, my man?
Man, good to be here, man. Good to be here. And it's the best part of the year, man. March Madness, man. You can't. Oh, wow. There he is.
What's going on, man?
What's up, man? What's happening?
Chilling. Man, I'm on.
Been a minute.
With the legend. Oh man,
That is
What's happening?
All out.
What was that?
I said it's March Madness. We had to bring them all out.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Everybody got to come out. Support. It's March Madness, man. It's the best time of the year, man.
For sure.
So is that an Allen Iverson, Georgetown? Okay.
Yes,
All
indeed.
right. He was always a problem, but that was the first time he was doing stuff different.
Man, listen, that was my guy, man. And like AI was, you knew he was different. And honestly, you knew he wasn't gonna stay at Georgetown long, but shout out to Coach Thompson, man. He took a chance on AI and the rest is history. But that was my guy when he was at Georgetown.
For sure.
I think we're all around the same age, more or less. So my brother and I would watch Big East, Big Mondays, right? Like that was the thing growing up on the TV. And, when it was Allen Iverson versus Ray Allen, Georgetown versus UConn, like those were some games.
That was college basketball, man.
Yeah.
That was college basketball. The old Big East, the old ACC. That was college basketball. It's lost a lot of that, man. It's still great. I still love it, but it's not what it used to be. Man, the Big East, the ACC, the Pac-12 sadly is going out of the way, but the Pac-12 used to have a great basketball league back in the day. Man, it's sad. It's sad in a lot of ways with its the deterioration of college basketball, men's college basketball. That is.
Now, you know what it is too. It's these guys, because like Manny, I know Manny's a huge Duke fan, but I remember watching. Like my first memories of ACC basketball was Duke when they had Johnny Dawkins at point guard. And so I go that far back with Duke and Carolina. And it's just like, but we got a chance to see those guys really grow and progress, for 3, sometimes 4 years. And now, it's pretty much one and done if you even go to college. So, I think what we're seeing is now kind of like the trickle down from where it used to be.
And I don't blame it on the one and dones. I blame it on AAU basketball because all it is open gym all summer and spring long, where I get you got to play games, but it's other stuff like footwork and fundamentals and IQ that these international cats have in the league now, and they're passing up the Americans. Like, look at the best players in the NBA right now: Jokic, Luka, Giannis. Embiid.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it now. I'm seeing it now because I have my son playing AAU now for the first time. He's 9, going on 10.
Okay.
And I'm seeing it now. These kids, they know how to score, but their tapestry of moves is just shooting threes, driving to the basket. They don't know how to play the game. They don't know how to defend. They don't know team basketball. They don't know the little fundamentals that just help you win basketball games. And it's just, it just is so indicative of just the culture of basketball now, where it's just like everybody just wants to shoot 30-foot jump shots and
they want to be Steph Curry.
Have YouTube tapes. That's a lot. Even in 4th grade, these kids is, I'm gonna get my mixtape, and it's like, yo, learn a boxing one, like learn a series, like learn how to, like just learning the game of basketball, man. It's just it's sad, man. It's sad. I don't want to be the old man, get off my lawn, but it's just, it's.
No, that's true. That's very much so true. I mean, the game really, we came from an era, and I'm a little bit older than you guys, came from an era where, it started inside out. We had post position players, but I mean, the days of, having somebody in the post like Shaq or Patrick Ewing, that's long gone. I mean, Embiid is a big guy, but Embiid shoots threes, so the game is, now we got 7-footers like Kevin Durant who stay on the perimeter. If Kevin Durant had played in 85, they'd have told him to get his 7-foot butt on the block, and he would have been out there shooting threes.
Yeah, the new big men, it's Chet Holmgren and Wembanyama. Like those are your sitters nowadays.
It's crazy to think about. Yeah, which is crazy to think about. Yeah.
Yeah. But the level of talent, I will admit the level of talent across the board is unprecedented. Even someone who watched the NBA and college basketball in the 80s and 90s, the level of talent across the board on each team, 1 through 15, is doesn't compare to this era of what we're seeing now. So on a night-to-night basis, we see a lot of talent in the college game and the program. But like Manny said, the fundamentals, you don't see that as much. And what I try to tell some NBA fans is, if you have time one night, you're watching the game, turn the volume off and just watch the game. Just watch the game and see how it's played. And you'll be like, this ain't really good basketball sometimes. And we have a lot of nights like that, college and pro.
You know what, NBA basketball, I still think college still has some of that fun, because I think the coaching is still so powerful in college.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it still hasn't really delved into that form of basketball just yet, all the way. Not saying that you don't have a point though, but I feel like with basketball, it's just like a death by 1,000 sugar cuts is what I like to call it, where it's like
Mm-hmm.
you're just in that sugar. You know how you just eat a bunch of candy and you feel like you're eating full, but you're not really full. It's just that rush of sugar, but you're not eating I feel like 80s and 90s basketball, and not to say that it was perfect.
No,
It's not. But I felt like that was your meat and potatoes basketball. That was your steak and potatoes basketball. Now it's like, I want to eat a cheeseburger and fries. It tastes good. It feels good. It looks good.
right.
Is it really good
really.
though? Is it really good?
Not really.
Is it really like something that you really just want to eat every day?
It's YouTube or TikTok basketball. Like, what
Mm-hmm.
about that clip? Oh, well, who won the game?
Is.
Right, did you
Right.
stop anyone defensively?
Oh, he scored 30 points. Yeah, but they lost. Like,
Right. And I was telling somebody the other day, like in that Anthony Edwards dunk, I was like, he walked. Like, I was like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but he took 4 steps. And it was like,
there's no traveling in the NBA. Come on,
we know that. And I mean, the refs are probably just as amazed as we were that he took off from where he took off. But I mean, if we want to get technical, he walked.
So let's get into some brackets here.
We start calling walking in the NBA.
I know, right? We'd be all day.
So Manny, how far do you have Duke going?
This has been a very confusing season, man. We came in with a lot of hype. We had like 3 or 4 returning starters, and for some reason, this team just hasn't clicked all year. They've just been missing. So a lot of it has just been, I think not replacing Derek Lively in the offseason with some sort of transfer portal big, I think put Kyle Filipowski in a position where he has to play a position that he's just not really suited for. He has to play a 5 role, and he's better suited as a stretch 4. I think it allows him better to kind of use his body and his height as a mismatch. We've had some injuries. We've just had some inconsistencies, guys in and out of the lineup. I mean, listen, a down year for Duke is still a great year for most teams. Mm-hmm. So I don't cry me a river, but yeah, I mean, listen, I've said this all year. I think we have the highest upside of any team. Like, I feel like when we're firing on all cylinders, I don't think it's hard to say that Duke is one of the 4 or 5 best teams talent-wise in the country, but we just haven't been firing on all cylinders. Listen, I think a successful year is getting to the Sweet 16. I think if we get to the Sweet 16 with the season that we've had, I think it's a success. Vermont's a good team. But it's a 13-4 matchup. And, those can always be a little dangerous. So I think if we could get past Vermont, I think we got a good chance to at least getting to a Sweet 16, but I don't see us getting past that, honestly. I really don't.
Yeah, I've got him losing to James Madison in the second round, which who knows?
I mean, Duke could get to a Final Four, or they could lose to Vermont.
Like,
that's like really this team. Like, we could lose tomorrow, or we could get to a Final Four. Like, there's no in between with Duke. Like, it's just like it's crazy, man. It's crazy. But nah, James Madison is dangerous too. I think we have enough to get. This team, Duke, is good enough to beat the teams we're supposed to, quote unquote, beat. Mm-hmm. It's just when we go up against the Houstons of the world, or when we go up against the teams that you would think talent-wise we match up well with, we just don't for whatever reason. And we're not a physical team, so I think that the physicality of Houston will give us problems.
Yep. 12 Kyle, what are your thoughts so far on day 1 of the tournament and your brackets? Are they still looking good?
So far so good. Just to answer the previous question, I got Duke losing to Houston, so I got them going a little bit further than what Manny said. But I agree. The couple of times I've seen Duke, they're up and down. But then again, everybody's up and down. So far so good. My brackets are looking pretty good. I actually did have Duquesne over BYU.
I did too.
Surprisingly, and that was because you know when you're filling out your bracket, you gotta figure out if that 5-12 is going to go, how the 6-11 is going to go. You know, your the other ones kind of the 8 and 9s. You know, it's a flip of the coin, but you got to kind of try to. But so far, my brackets are intact. But now, if you talk to me 2 hours from now, it might be a different story.
Still early.
Yeah, it's still
also,
early.
I also had Michigan State over Mississippi State, and that's looking good.
Do either one of you believe in Purdue?
Honestly, I like Eddie. I like the big guy, but I think I've seen them maybe 3 times this year. They didn't blow me away. They look like a regular solid college basketball team, but I also caught them, I think, one night when they lost, I think. I can't remember who they were playing against, but they just, you know, they can be out of sync at times, much like what Manny said about Duke. So I don't know. I don't have them going all the way. I don't even have them going to the Final Four. So
yeah, Purdue is one of those teams. It kind of remind me of that 2019 Virginia team, where like it's now or never for them. Where they got to win a championship. And Painter, look, he's been a great coach and he's been a successful coach there, but it's time for him.
A great regular season coach.
Great regular season coach, but he's got to do something in the tournament. He's got to get to a Final Four this year. Like if it's not now, when for him?
Right.
I just don't believe in Purdue, man. I think they're such a system-oriented team, and they're a team that they don't really have a plan B. If things don't go their way, if Edie gets in foul trouble, if one of those guards is out of sync, I don't know. They just don't. They're such a system-oriented team, Painter's system, that I just don't believe it. I don't love their guards either, you know. So listen. They could get to a Final Four. They're talented. They have a great record. They're a one seed. You know, and I don't think their bracket's incredibly tough. So,
I think they're the easiest.
Yeah, I think they have the easiest bracket. Them and North Carolina. I think out of the 2 number 1 seeds, I think North Carolina and Purdue had the 2 easiest brackets. So listen, now is their year for Purdue. No more excuses now. I don't want to hear any more about, well, we ran up against a hot team. No. You got the 1 seed. You got an easy bracket. Get to a Final Four.
Yeah. You've got arguably the most physically dominant big man to today's game on your team, and coming off of last year's humbling loss. Now is the time. There's no more excuses. Now, everyone likes to hate on Purdue, and I'm one of them. I just don't think they're going to do it. I don't know if it's going to be the second round versus Utah State. I don't know if someone's going to give them the Sweet 16, but someone is going to get them.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, they could definitely win the national championship. I don't want to sit here and say like, oh, it's impossible that they win a national championship. I think Purdue could definitely win a national championship, but I just don't buy them, man. I gotta see them in a big. I gotta see them down by 5, 3 minutes left.
Yeah,
really, and that's where they've really struggled. You just wonder if that team has the mental toughness to win these kind of games. They're almost like that team that's built for the regular season, but I don't know if they're built to win 6 in a row in March.
Yeah, I've got them losing to Kansas, so I don't even have them going that far. I got them
Kansas. Kansas might not even beat Sanford.
I mean, well, you know what? But to your point, that's the typical Bill Self team. Like, and what I found is, and this just like you mentioned, K Winn, as far as like just hate. I want to hate Kansas. But I also know like the years that I really, really hate Kansas, those are the years that they go far. So this year I've kind of tempered my hate a little bit.
It was back a little deeper into
it. So I mean, Bill Self he's gonna find a way. I got him going deep actually. So surprising.
I actually have look at my brackets right now. I have Creighton beating them.
Really? Okay. Wow.
I think Creighton matches up really well with them.
I don't think
and listen, I think South Carolina is going to beat Oregon. I think they'll get to the Sweet 16. I think they'll get to an Elite 8, and I think either Creighton or and another team in that bracket, South Carolina, I think matches up really well with them. I think you need guard play to beat Purdue, or I think you just need an extremely physical, rough team to beat Purdue, and a team that can kind of bring Edie out of the post. Because when Edie's in the post, it's barbecue chicken. It's all day. He's done. But if you could kind of bring him out and make him guard on the perimeter, I think you got a chance.
I call him a better scoring Rudy Gobert. What happens? Rudy playoffs, you bring him out a little further. And I like that Creighton pick because they have a 7-footer as well, Ryan.
Coke burner. Yep.
I've got Creighton beating Purdue, and actually have Creighton
Okay.
go to the final game versus UConn. All Big East.
You know, Creighton is one of those teams. They've kind of been close the last couple years. It just
Mhm.
feels like they're always right there, knocking on the doorsteps. I feel like it's almost their time too, where they just really got to make a big run in the NCAA tournament. You know, McDermott's been there a while. They've been a team that's kind of been knocking on the doorstep. So, I got Creighton as kind of a sneaky Final Four team as well. I know it's hard to say sneaky when they're a third seed.
Right.
But yeah, I think a lot of people are not really paying attention to them. They're really good and they can really score.
Mhm.
So 12, Kyle. Did you go to college? Was it in South Carolina?
South Carolina State University, sir.
All right. So
We'll get him
leading
going.
question: are you pulling for Clemson or the Gamecocks?
The Lady Gamecocks. Listen, it is in my DNA to never ever pull for South Carolina or Clemson in anything. But I do have a sentimental pick. NC State's kid that plays center for NC State, DJ Burns. Me and his dad actually played. We were classmates at South Carolina State. We played ball together. We came in together as freshmen, and we graduated together. So I've known DJ from afar because last time I saw him, he was big, but he was like maybe 7. But he and his dad and I, we chat from time to time, and so I'm pulling for him. I'm pulling for DJ. I don't think the NC State's going to go that far, but I hope he has a good tournament. He's a big guy, 6'9", about 285. He's got post move. He's got some game, and he's the kind of lovable kind of big guy that people like. But to answer your question, no, I'm not pulling for South Carolina or Clemson. But South Carolina has a good team. They have a really good team. Really.
Go ahead, pull for Duke, man. Man.
I could never pull it. Listen, man, my best friend graduated from Duke. She graduated from Duke, and she went to Duke when Duke was Duke, like in the 90s. And so we made her the godmother of our first son. And so she started giving him all this Duke stuff. So he was as a little boy. So now he's a Duke fan. So I have a Duke fan in my house. So that makes it even worse. So I could never root for Duke.
Yeah. Sorry, man. Sorry.
You know how much I hate Duke. and you know what's funny? I have Duke and Carolina friends. So to see them go at it when those two teams go to battle, man, our group chat's on fire. I just sit back and just pop popcorn. That's it.
Do either of you believe in Carolina this year? Some say they shouldn't have got the 4th number 1. They were more like a 2.
Yeah, I'm one of those. I thought they should have gotten
Yeah, I
the
don't.
4th number 1. Bias aside, I think
Mhm.
Tennessee, the SEC was a little bit stronger league this
I
year
think
than
so.
the ACC, so I don't understand the number 1 seed. I know Carolina has a good net and all the metrics that they love, but yeah, I thought they should have. I thought they should have gotten the number 1. Didn't they beat Tennessee? I think they beat Tennessee in the regular season. So
I think they did. Yeah.
I think that's why they got the nod over them. But
some thought Iowa State should have jumped up. By the way, they smacked on the Big 12.
Yeah, you can make that argument. I mean, that was kind of one of the question marks I had. I mean, I was really upset about St. John's and St. John's and Seton Hall Oklahoma. Seton Hall and St. John's.
Why St. John's? Because of the run St. John's had at the end of the season.
Runs that St. John's has had, and plus you're telling me that the Big East had UConn, Creighton, and Marquette 1, 2, and 3 in a particular region, and you're telling me the 2 other teams that were in that same conference that played very well against those teams,
right?
They don't make the tournament. I mean, you can't tell me that St. John's shouldn't be in the tournament over Virginia. Virginia set basketball back 15 years. Yeah. I mean, that embarrassing performance.
Man, Virginia's bad.
I think he has blinders on when they look at the Big East and they look at these schools and they're smaller, they're private. And
I didn't understand that. I thought Seton Hall should have made it. I thought St. John's should have made it, but I know that wasn't the question. That being said, North Carolina, you can make the argument that North Carolina is always a dangerous team. I'm not going to sit here and hate. I think North Carolina is a dangerous team. I don't love North Carolina offensively. I think they can kind of go through scoring droughts. If Baycott gets in foul trouble, they're a little bit in trouble. Listen, can they get to a Final Four? Yes, but I don't think they're a team that I think is long for this tournament.
Yeah, when I think North Carolina, this team doesn't resemble anything like what I think of a North Carolina team should look like. So I know that I have a certain type of bias when it comes to that, but they're like Manny said, they're talented enough to make it to the Final Four. I don't think they're going to make it. I think
somebody's going to Michigan State next round.
Okay.
I don't know. I have them beating Michigan State, but I didn't pick them to go to the final. Let me look at it. No, I didn't. No, I didn't have
them. You're right. When you think of Carolina, or at least when I think of Carolina, it's like they've got all Americans on their bench. You're going to the NBA, all 5 starters, and it's talent and it's offense and it's energetic and they're superstars. Like, I mean, Baycock's good. RJ Davis is good, but I don't think they have enough around them. I've got them losing in the second round.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised either. I mean, losing Love transferring to Arizona, I think was huge. And then they had some type of personnel issues last year. They just don't look like a regular Carolina team, but they have enough talent there. I don't think this is the year.
You know, they're great when they're playing defense at an elite level, but they're kind of a sporadic defensive team. Sometimes you watch them and they're terrible defensively, and other times you watch them and they're elite. I think if their defense is off a little bit, I think they can be beat. I really do.
Yeah. Well, we saw it a little bit in the Duke game, the last game at Cameron, even though that they won. Like, RJ Davis didn't really do anything. I mean, Cormac Ryan played big.
Cormac Ryan, who's like 30.
Yeah.
But like, Baycock's 27.
That is the blueprint. Plus, actually get someone out on Cormac Ryan.
Like, how? Like, I'm going on a rant. How is this allowed? If Duke did this, like, you wouldn't hear the end of it. Oh, see, Duke, they love Duke. How is it allowed? 20. Baycock's 27, I think. McCormack Ryan's 25. Like, what are we doing here? This is ridiculous. I know COVID. I know the extra. This is ridiculous.
College basketball, man.
It's ridiculous, man. You got G League players, like pros, all-stars, playing against 19. Cormac Ryan yelling at Jeremy Roach. Jeremy Roach is 22. Right. 30.
That's funny.
Sorry.
That COVID year. Don't worry. I think we're done with that now.
Yeah, so. I think this might be the last year of the COVID kids.
Jeez.
22-year-olds playing the game.
Come on, man. Come on.
Oh man, that's funny. That is funny. But no, I feel you. I was
going to say, I think North Carolina
has
a shot. I just think, I was just going to say, I think North Carolina has a shot. I mean, they're North Carolina, Duke. I mean, anytime they're in the field, you got to watch out for them because, same thing with Kentucky. When you have a blue blood with the talent level that these teams have, you always have to account for them. They always are a factor. Yeah, I think Michigan State, listen, Michigan State's not sexy, it's not pretty, but they're built. It's weird. You don't love Michigan State. Michigan State is the Rajon Rondo of college basketball. You hate him for 82 games, but you love him in the postseason. Mm-hmm. I think you hate Michigan State over the course of 32, 34 regular season games. But something in the tournament, they're just built for the tournament. And Izzo, more than any other coach, outside of maybe Coach K, is built to win these tournament games. And I think they're not going to be intimidated by North Carolina. And I think they match up physically with North Carolina. The thing with Michigan State is, can they score enough? Because Michigan State's one of those teams that they just go through. They're a little bit similar to Virginia, where just you never know what you're getting offensively. But if they have a night where they can score, Michigan State can beat anybody.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this. Am I crazy for picking UConn to win it all?
No, because I did too.
Okay.
No, I think UConn has the most upside of any team in the country. Okay. They're not as good as they were last year.
Right.
Believe it or not, even though they're a 1 seed, and I think last year they were a 5th seed
or
4th seed. It's crazy to say that, but I don't think they're as talented and as deep as they were last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're clearly the best team. I don't think they're unbeatable, though. I think UConn does have, and they have the toughest bracket by far. They have the toughest bracket.
Yes.
So, and you know how it is, man. Repeating is hard.
NIU potentially, or FAU, sorry, potentially in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A team that they probably should have played in the national championship last year. So,
and San Diego State in the third round potentially.
Right. Exactly. No, listen, UConn. Listen, it's not. If I was a UConn alum, I wouldn't just be printing out tickets to go to the Final Four. I think UConn is going to have to work for it for sure. But I think they're clearly the number one team. I think they're clearly the best team in the country. So I wouldn't be mad at anybody picks UConn to win the national championship.
In one of I did 3 brackets, so I've got UConn in one. And my other one, I've got Baylor winning. I think
really
under the radar.
The Baylor Bears?
Been there. They got it. Here's my formula.
Okay.
A coach who's been there, knows what he's doing for X's and O's.
Okay.
You need at least 2 to 3 NBA players. They've got those 2 freshmen, and they can shoot the ball. What they don't have is they don't play a whole lot of defense.
Right.
play a
But
whole
you
lot
said
of
they're
defense,
freshmen.
and
Though. Can those freshmen
Yeah.
rise when it gets crunch time?
Yeah.
That's why I would
Yeah.
stop short
Baylor's
a
a
little
little
short
young.
of picking
That's my
Baylor's a
number
little
two
young.
bracket.
Baylor's a little young. Their defense can be a little non-existent, and they're just such a hard team to read. Sometimes you watch Baylor, you're like, wow, this is one of the best teams in the country. And then you watch Baylor another time, and you're like, is this the same team that just beat Kansas by 4? Like, you never know what you're getting with Baylor. They're just a little bit too chaotic and inconsistent for me. Yeah, I don't think this is a year for Baylor. Hey, I mean, listen, you can't go wrong with picking them because they are a factor. But
right.
Yeah, honestly, I got Tennessee. That's my pick. I think.
I saw you pick this morning.
I think Rick Barnes is his year. Now listen, I don't feel good
Do
about that.
Do you really trust Rick Barnes?
I don't trust Rick Barnes at all.
Okay.
I don't trust Rick Barnes.
More Rick Barnes or Purdue or Matt Painter?
Man, I trust Matt Painter more. Believe it or not.
I trust Matt Painter.
Rick Barnes.
Rick Barnes is not to be trusted.
I've seen this movie. I've seen it with Durant. I've seen it with. I mean, name a Rick Barnes team. He's a hell of a coach, but just every
hell of a recruiter.
And then it's like he just gets to the tournament and he just loses games that you just never think he should lose. So listen, the biggest difference I see with this team though is Dalton Knecht, man. I think that that kid, they finally have a guy that when it gets down to crunch time, I know you could say that they had that back in Texas with Kevin Durant, but that team wasn't this team.
Right.
They finally have a guy that when they get late into possessions, they can get the ball to and say, get out of my way. I'm going to get us a bucket. And they haven't had that really at Tennessee since he's been there. And now with the health of Zakai Ziegler, Adu is a monster down low. I think they have the recipe to win a national championship. I really do. I think it's just them playing up to their potential and just avoiding the typical Rick Barnes performance where they lose a team to South Carolina State NIT tournament team champion, collegiate college, technical college all-stars. Like you know that they're always.
But that's in his DNA, man. It's in his DNA. It always happens, and it's like every year we convince ourselves to buy into Rick Barnes. Every year we get disappointed. Every year, man.
Yeah, I
so
don't
we'll see.
Feel good about that pick. I don't feel good about it.
When I saw it
holding my nose because I know I'm like they could lose today.
When I saw it pop up in the group chat this morning, I just busted out laughing. I was like, "You got to be kidding me, Manny."
Tennessee, man, that's who I went with.
I didn't expect Tennessee.
I wasn't gonna go. I didn't want to go to UConn because everybody's gonna go UConn. I didn't want to go North Carolina because I could never.
Right.
Houston to me, I don't love Houston's offense.
They play defense when they want to.
In a big game, though, I still worry about Houston offensively. Yeah. And, I just looked at the field and I was like, man, Arizona's a little bit too erratic for me. Plus Caleb Love, he can shoot you into a game and he can shoot you
out of a game. Facts.
So I went with Tennessee.
Okay. So we got 2 UConn in my low-key bracket. I got Baylor. And we got Tennessee.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, I know you guys got to jump out of here, but it was fun to banter. Always a pleasure to have you on. And
for sure,
yeah, man.
Baylor is making a long run. We might have you back on just so I can say I told you stuff.
I'm always ready for college basketball now. You can always have me on.
Same here. Just let me know.
Don't let Duke get to a Final Four now.
They won't.
Definitely need to have me on.
They won't.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. Be good.
All right, fellas. Y'all be cool, man.
Yep. You too, man.
Peace. Later.